The project by the famous office Zaha Hadid Architects brought to the capital of Slovakia a new quality of urban architecture. The Dörken system solution has been implemented on the two most characteristic elements of the whole building, the park and the facade. The Sky Park project is the result of an international competition involving several dozen architects, and the project by Zaha Hadid Architects is unique in that the space provided was divided into two categories: living space and space for the public. As we know, cities need public space, and rightly so. Such a combination of private, public, and semi-public space brings the highest quality. This arrangement made it possible to create more than a 2.5-hectare park in the end, which is a very unique thing for the city. It can be compared, for example, with the Medicka garden. If we look around, we can perceive the relationship between the park itself and the surroundings. The park is vaulted so that it rises at the ends, and we can see it here on these stairs, which gives us unique views in that we do not feel entirely in the city, but gently as in nature. Our eye and sight always end up in the greenery. As you can see, there is a bunch of grass and living space areas, playgrounds, as there are sure to be families with children. And also, there is a simulation of a park or wilderness, almost of a forest character. At the same time, we have greenery here, which has a rather representative character and can be added to make buildings such as Jurkovich's heating plant or administrative buildings stand out. This type of green is clearly more representative. Since we are talking about green roofs, and the whole Sky Park is built on the roofs, also all of the greenery, the plants need first a substrate, and below the substrate some hydroaccumulation layer that will drain any excess water, but at the same time retain it for the plants to make the water available to them. When selecting the hydroaccumulation drainage layer on the vegetation areas of the Sky Park project, the main requirements were placed on sufficient hydroaccumulation property of the material, high compressive strength, and drainage capacity. DELTA FLORAXX top meets these conditions. It is a dimpled sheet 20 mm high with unique octagonal knobs and a fused geotextile filter. The hydroaccumulation capacity is up to 7 liters per meter squared, and the pressure strength is 200 kilonewtons per meter squared. The advantage is also the integrated geotextile itself, so that after laying the DELTA FLORAXX top, we can immediately apply additional layers to the film, such as the roof substrate. Not only the architecture and shapes itself, but also the materials that are used are, let's call it, adequate to the present time, gently perched higher than we are used to. The requirements were extremely demanding. We decided on the company Dörken, as it offered quality at a reasonable price, as the individual functions in the park are composed, meaning that we mix a residential function, an administrative, a retail, as well as cultural and social events. We achieve the result that the whole space will live 24 hours a day. DELTA TERRAXX was used to protect the waterproofing. It is also a dimpled sheet with an integrated geotextile and a pressure strength of up to 400 kilonewtons per meter squared. Since the dimpled sheet has an integrated self-adhesive edge, this product can be laid, and a homogeneous layer is formed, to which other layers can be applied, such as in this case, a gravel layer. As for DELTA TERRAXX, at first, we couldn't imagine how we would glue it together. It seemed unnecessary. But when we got to know it, we found that it was a huge advantage given that the material would fix each other. For example, no loads were needed. It is a huge advantage. And if we would ever do something similar, we would only look for materials that can be fixed in this way. The architecture itself is designed very decently. The towers are not as we are used to, direct and equal in a standard way, but they have a fine offset in the middle, which allows achieving the given elegance. Dörken's facade membranes worked very well for us. It was essential to meet the requirements of the investor. When choosing a waterproofing system for the ventilated facade of the SkyPark towers, it was important to meet the basic 4 requirements. Those are primarily fire resistance, a high UV stability at open joints of the cladding, diffusion openness, and wind resistance. These conditions are met by DELTA FASSADE S film in combination with DELTA TAPE FAS system tape. High strength and high UV resistance predetermine this film for use in ventilated facades with cut joints up to a width of 50 millimeters. With a SD value of 0.02 meters, the facade membrane is diffusion open so that all moisture that accumulates in the facade is safely conveyed away without any problems. In such high-rise buildings as the SkyPark towers, the fire resistance of the materials used is also important. Here, the use of DELTA FASSADE S proved to be a suitable solution. As the facade membrane with system tape has a system certificate that is hardly flammable, for example in category B, S1, D0, and does not drip and smoke when burned. Specific details on this building included the connection of the ventilated facade, specifically the lining, to the contact thermal insulation system at the balconies. Another such specific detail was the connection of the windowsill of the ventilated facade to the aluminum window. DELTA Trefoil was used under the windowsill. The cooperation with Dörken was very good, and any occurred difficulties were resolved promptly.